Hello, Navigating Disability Colorado fans. I am going to explain to you today how I look at my calendar. I'm looking at the end of 2024 right now and figure out what services I've utilized for our son's CES waiver and what is left. So, an allocation is how much you put in your budget, and utilization is what you have used. So, right now, my son is in his we only have 4 months left in his waiver until he turns 18. So what I do is it's now the end of December, so I'm gonna think, okay, December, January, February, March, April. So I have 4 months left, and that's times about 4 weeks. So that's 16 weeks left. So what I'm gonna do is show you how I use my access to my son's home health software, which is actually for his HCBS Medicaid services too. We use Colorado Family Caregivers. If you use a different agency, they may have a different automated system, but I have to tell you that I do love how CanTime allows me to log in anytime I want and not only see my son's shifts, or the shifts that I do with my son, rather, I also get to see the shifts that other people have scheduled um, and done with him. So let's go ahead and start. So we have 4 months left in the year, and my son gets both CNA home health services and HCBS waiver services for home and community-based services, and we use Colorado Family Caregivers. So I'm just going to share with you here. So what I do is I go up to Client, and I click on um, his skilled care here, the first line, that's going to be for his CNA services. I am the only one who provides him CNA services. But we also have our PASA services, pediatric PASA here, PASA. You'll see in the second line it says Medicaid CES waiver. So I'm going to click on that box and then click on my son's name. And then it's going to pull up this screen that has all kinds of tabs. And at first, it looks overwhelming, but as you know, if you have been doing any kind of charting for your loved one, you get used to it after a while. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to schedules and show you that with this CanTime software, I'm able to see the schedules coming up for him. Now this goes for his entire plan year, which is 9/1/24 through the end of the plan year. He actually turns 18 in May, so I only have 4 months left in his waiver. To limit the number of shifts that I see here, I'm going to go ahead and change this date range from 12/1 to 12/31. And then that way I'm only looking at this month's services. And after I put in the date range, I click on display. And that's going to take me to this month's services. And I like doing this occasionally because I like to see what services have been approved. So on this right-hand column, you'll see here it says approved, and then there's some missed visits. When I have Respite or other services and I am not providing the services, if I have someone else providing them, I do often have to cancel those shifts and mark them as missed in order to open that time period and allow someone else to be paid for that time period. So let's just take a look here at the first one. I'm going to click on December 1st on this top line here. And you'll see that I provided Parent Community Connector from 9 to 2 p.m., which is 5 hours. And then this is the actual time that I billed. I did bill the full 5 hours. And then on the right-hand side, it says it was approved. And then we'll scroll down a little bit more. We have Homemaker Basic on the top line now. And Homemaker Basic is a service that I provide as a parent. And I basically do it for an hour and a half a day, or excuse me, an hour and a quarter a day. And I do it right in the morning as my son is off to school. I do my picking up and my cleaning after him, my laundry, that kind of stuff. So I put that here, and then I chart it by clicking on the e-chart, and then you'll see that this one is approved. So I'm going to scroll down some more, and you'll see here that there's a name of a provider here, Jody Langstaff, and she provided services for my son on the 12th of December from 4 to 7 p.m. She actually did clock 3 hours, and her shift was approved. Now I'm going to show you down here that my son here on winter break, he's home from college, on 12/19, Thursday, Jerome did Community Connector from 12:30 to 2:30, which is 2 hours, and he charted them, and it's complete, but it's not yet approved. So that means that the agency hasn't opened up that shift and made sure that he charted it properly. It will be approved probably after the twilight zone of the holidays here, and they get caught up on their work. And then you'll scroll down here and you'll see on 12/20, I actually did a missed shift here because someone else provided services. You'll see here that I had Molly do a non-live-in respite day. So she spent the night. She came at 3:30 on Friday and stayed until 9 a.m. the next day. And she did chart and it was approved. And you'll see here there's an EVV. EVV is electronic visit verification, and that is for when a non-live-in provider has to clock in and out at the exact time, and there's a GPS stamp that proves to Medicaid that they were on site. Now, Molly also on Saturday morning, I'll scroll down here, Molly also provided community connector. So they went out and about in the community from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and she charted the 5 hours. All right, and then I'm going to go up here and show you the authorization. So authorization will show you what has been approved and put into our service plan. So you'll see here on the top line that we have homemaker basic for the parent. And we put in 1440, which is the maximum. And we have used, this is the green here, 618 units. We have 185 scheduled, which leaves us 632 that are unused. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to use those. So I'm going to show you how I go through and figure out the units. So we had 1440. I take out my handy dandy cell phone and I will pull up my calculator. And I'm going to say, okay, clear. We have 1440 units, and there are 637 that are unused. All right, I'm inserting this clip in because in my original recording, you were unable to see this tab in my screen. So the way that you find the rate sheet is you can Google HCBS and then HCBS rates, and then it comes to this page. Everything is on this page from dental procedures to anesthesiology to transportation, and then we have home and community-based services, which are waiver services. So that's what you want to look for. And then you're going to click on the one on the left is always the most current. So this one is for January 1st. And then there's 3 choices underneath. I'm going to pick the one that's for DD, SLS, and CES. And I'm going to click on that one. And then it'll take me to the rate sheet. They approve and group the Medicaid waivers into groups of 3, mainly for purposes of renewing the waiver with our federal partners at CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So I'm going to scroll down to page 19, which has the CES waiver here. And you'll be able to see that they have everything here from the adaptive rec all the way down here to community connector. Please make sure that you look at outside Denver or inside Denver. And then you keep scrolling down and you'll find things like homemaker. In my video, I talk about basic homemaker for outside of Denver, so that would be here. So basic homemaker has a code, a modifier, and then the rate per 15 minutes. Now, this is the rate that the agency gets paid by the state, and then generally they take about 20% to process the billable. And also do all of their compliance. The PASAs do a lot, and not something I'm interested in doing. They also have massage therapy here, and then respite. So respite in this video, I talk about per diem. I live outside Denver, so this section is right for me. We have individual unskilled respite, which is for 15-minute units of $727. And then they also have this per diem, which you'll hear me talk about. And the per diem is for 10 to 24 hours. So it's once you hit 10 hours, or go over 10 hours rather, then you go to a per diem rate rather than a individual unit rate. So when I do overnight shifts with my son, I generally have the provider take him in the community a bit at the beginning of the shift Then they stay overnight and they get this respite for $311.35 minus the fee of their agency. And then on the second day, generally they do a community excursion, and she gets paid the community connector rate for that. So we'll go up here and you'll see that the community connector rate is much higher. So the community connector rate is $12.03 for 15 minutes, and the rate for respite's only $727 for individual 15 minutes. So just want to show you how to get to this sheet. I'm sorry that my browser didn't show it in my original recording, but at least now you can see how to find this sheet and how to scroll and find the rates for 15 minutes. Just be aware that the Denver County has a different rate than the outside Denver County because they have a higher minimum wage. And then at the bottom of the sheet, you'll see here is the grand total number of $61,176, and that's the maximum that you can allocate and spend per service plan year. So, and then I have 687 unused, and I'm going to take out the 185 that are scheduled, and that leaves me 452 units. 452 units is a lot of units. Now, how do I figure out how much that's worth in money? Okay, so I did allocate the $1,440 for my annual service plan, which is the maximum I can do. The reason that there are so many extra is that I wasn't doing a full plan year. So when I was doing my math, I didn't keep that in mind. So what I need to do is now shorten that amount, because we do have a max of 10 hours per week that a parent can get paid. And instead of doing a full 12-month service plan year, we're actually only doing a 8-month service plan year. Let me see. So let's do that again. So we have September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So 9 months. So basically I over allocated for that, which is okay. I usually do this sort of a checkup on my units. So I have 452 units. Now, how do I figure out how much that costs? Well, now I'm going to go ahead and show you the service plan rate sheet here. And the service plan rate sheet is found by Googling. You do HCBS rate sheet HCBS, and then it comes up to this website. I don't recommend you download the PDF because they change regularly. So I'm going to scroll down. Everything is here from dental to durable medical equipment, but the one I want is HCBS. So I'm going to scroll down, and the one on the left is always the most current. And the ones that are effective on the 1st of January are here. So I'm going to click on that one for SLS, DD, and CES. And up comes a rate sheet. And on this rate sheet, we have 3 waivers, which gets a little confusing. But the reason there's 3 waivers is that they are approved by the federal partners, CMS, as a group of waivers. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom because CES is at the very bottom. Sorry for your eyes. Close your eyes if you don't like the scrolling. And here we are, CES. So now I'm going to take my 452 units of the parental provided homemaker, and you'll see it's $6.08. And I live outside of Denver, so it's important that you read carefully. If you live inside Denver, the rate is higher. So I have 608 minutes. So I'm taking my 452 and I'm going to multiply it by 608. And I get 2,748. I take my little pencil and I write that down, 2,748 and 16 cents. So that's money that I'm not going to be able to bill by the end of the plan year. So then I'm going to go back to my can time. And I'm going to say, okay, what did I allocate that I didn't use? So I get up to 30 days a year in this non-live-in respite day, which I like to use. That's an overnight. So my husband and I, we have a place up in Bailey that we can go to when we have service for our son at our home. And that way I can get some sleep because those of you on CES know that our kids don't sleep. So I only allocated 22 days, and I can go up to 30 based on the plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my $2,748, which is in my calculator, and now I'm going to go back to my service plan and see if I have enough money to do 8 more days. And then I can ask my case management agency contact, my case manager, to move my money around, to do a reallocation, to do a revision of my service plan. That's the term they like to use, is a service plan revision. So now back to the chart. And how much is a respite overnight? I'm going to go down here. Of course, I live outside of Denver, and you'll see here it says maximum of 30 plus another 1880 of the individual respite, which is those 15-minute units. So I still can do 8. How much is a per diem per person overnight? All right, for an overnight, it's $311.35, and that's for between 10 and 24 hours. So basically, they take the amount and they multiply it out. So this isn't the amount that the provider gets, unfortunately, because the agency takes about 20% of it, but it's a good daily rate. So when I'm doing my allocations, I take my money that I have left over from my excess homemaker, and I divide it by 311.35. And I get 8.82 days. So I have enough money to do 8 more overnights. So I'm going to ask my case manager to move 8 days. Now I have some left over though. It says 8.826. So I'm going to take my calculator and minus the 8, and I have 826. So I'm going to multiply that by that daily rate, 311 times 35, and that's $257. So I'm going to write that down, $257.36. All right, so I'm going to take the units away from 128 units away from homemaker parent, homemaker basic parent, and I'm going to move it into 8 days of per diem respite, which means overnight, even though it says day, per diem day respite. And then I'm going to take my $257.36 and I'm going to move that into Community Connector, because I always use Community Connector. It's the highest paying service. So now I'm going to go back to my rate sheet here and say, okay, I have 257. Now I'm going to change that currency into Community Connector. So I'm going to find Community Connector's rate for outside Denver County. It's $12 per 15 minutes. So I'm going to take my 257 and divide it by $12.03, and that gives me 21.49.4 units of Community Connector. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell my agency or my case manager at my CMA to move that money. So then what I'm going to do is, after I make that request to my case manager, I am going to get a service plan revision, and that comes from the case management agency. I recommend, if you've taken my program, you know this, that you always in your email to your case manager say service plan revision. And if it's urgent, you can put urgent. And then you attach in the email, you do your math for your case manager and you tell them where you want to move your funding. So it's a little bit of a shell game. I have this amount of money, and I'll scroll down here and show you for this new 2025 year. The overall service plan is $61,176. So that's how much money I have per plan year. So this is just a little quick video, 15 minutes, to show you how I do that. And then I'm going to, once I get that revision back from my case manager, I would forward that to my PASA, my Program Approved Service Agency, which I use for billing my Medicaid HCBS services. And then I will go in and I'll check and make sure that this reflects. So when I come back after the service plan revision is submitted, this 22 should go up to 30, because that's the total per year that I've allocated. And then I should have an additional 21 units in my Community Connector here for my total. And then my homemaker amount should go down by 128. So I would come back and check my math. So yeah, this does seem like a lot of work, huh? Is that what you're thinking? Well, this is actually money that my son has gotten because of his disability. And the better that I manage it, the better the service is for him. As I'm filming this, he's with a Community Connector right now, going out in the community, working on his independent skills. So in my opinion, the investment I put into managing his Medicaid services is really worth it. Some people, the average in Colorado for that 60,000 is people are only utilizing 15,000 of it. And to me, that's a shame. We should be trying to maximize as much as we can and give ourselves a break as parents, and also get services like Community Connector or Respite so that our kids can move forward in their independent skills. All right, hope this has been helpful. Please make a comment under this if you found it helpful or if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer them. Have a wonderful day.